Just you and me, Farah.
Yep,
Oh,
seems like
here comes someone. All right, I can't see you all now that I'm sharing, but I'm going to make a start. So we're going to focus mostly on the universal design for learning today. These are our learning outcomes for the module. So the module itself was mostly about critical thinking and problem solving. And we need to sort of think back over all of the other things we've done about cognitive and social processes and think about how we might promote inclusive and collaborative learning and all of that sort of stuff. The the assessment brief had specific mention of UDL in it, so I added this section on UDL into the module. So I want to just have a quick go through of that. I have got a Menti, and in fact, I've got lots of Mentis today. I've got a little Menti game because I thought, since it's the last one for the term, that it might be fun to have a little Menti competition. So hopefully it's going to load. All right. So the first question is just our general first question of let's warm our brains up to think about what we're talking about today, which is the critical thinking and stuff. Oh, goodness me. So just type in there, of all the things that we've talked about this term, what do you think makes learning feel hard to students? I'll just put the number in there as well in case you like to do it on your phone. I like to do it on my phone. Hang on, that's wrong. 2, 4, 6, 4. All right, so you can, 2, 4, 6, 4. Okay, that's right, just without the little, whatever that's called, backslash. So just type in anything, a couple of words. What do you think makes it hard? The content? Yeah, sometimes it is the content, isn't it? Certainly for some of those content heavy things like science subjects and things like that. Environment, complex instructions, yeah. So all of these things are things that can make learning feel hard. So this is just reflecting back on what we've done so far. All right, so the goal for today is to look at UDL. So before we do, we want to have a look at what the goal of UDL is. So according to CAST, the goal of UDL is learner agency. Okay, so learners are becoming purposeful and motivated, resourceful, knowledgeable, strategic, and goal-oriented, goal-directed learners. Okay, so it fits in really well with self-directed learning, which is why I included that as well. So this means designing learning so that students have the capacity to make meaningful choices, to use their strengths, and to understand how they learn and to direct their own learning over time. Obviously, this is a scaffolded thing. If you're teaching primary school, you're going to be scaffolding more than in high school. And really, I don't think that these kinds of things have been emphasized in teacher education a lot. And I feel like when students get to me at university, they don't know how to do these things, okay? Because the teachers have borne that cognitive load themselves instead of passing it back to the students before they graduate, okay? So obviously that's a scaffolded thing. But this whole UDL thing fits in really well with everything we've done so far. So in Module 4, we were looking about cognitive barriers so that learning can be accessible. And then from Module 5, we will talk about supporting metacognition, modeling thinking. And then from Module 6, we're developing higher order thinking skills and problem solving. So UDL isn't about fixing learners, it's about designing learning environments that enable all students to act as agents in their own learning. This is the framework. If you go to the best source for this is the CAST website. They do have a book, but the library doesn't have the book. But that's all good because the CAST people want you to have this information. So they've got a website, and this is a website that you can use as a reference, okay? Because it's the main place where you get this information. So the framework of this is that there are 3 principles across the top there. So design multiple means of engagement, multiple means of representation, and multiple means of action and expression. So they're their 3 basic principles. And then within those, they have these 3 rows. So it's about access, support, and executive function. So executive function is really important part of self-regulated learning. So you'll see a lot of things in that line that will resonate with what we've already talked about with self-regulation. So engagement focuses on the emotional and motivational side of learning. So this column here, oh, I lost my pointer, is about the emotional and motivational side of learning. So it asks what helps students feel ready to engage and willing to persist and able to regulate themselves. And then there'll be things like recruiting their interest and sustaining effort and supporting self-regulation down in this executive function one. Then in this one here about representation, so they like to draw a different part of the brain for each one of these as well. So this is kind of about the limbic system here that piques people's engagement. And then this is more about the hearing and writing and seeing parts of your brain. And then this part here is more about the executive function of your brain. So representation is about how information is perceived and understood. So this can include perception. So can students access it? It can include language and symbols. So if you're teaching maths, then that's something that you have to think about with the symbols. Can they decode that? If you're teaching science, there's often a lot of vocabulary that goes with science. Can they decode that vocabulary? And it's also about comprehension. So can they make sense of the idea? So that this part is where cognitive load is going to come in, and schema and scaffolding and everything that you worked on in modules 2 and 4 is going to show up in practice in that column there. And then in the last column, we've got action and expression. So that's focusing on how learners physically and cognitively act on their learning. So this could include access to materials, the ways that students can communicate what they know. So are you only letting them write, or are you letting them do drawings, or, animations, or expressive dance? I mean, how are you letting them communicate their ideas to you? And that's going to directly link to what we talked about with modeling and support and self-regulation down in the bottom there. So you probably can see that this table is like a summary of all of the different theories that we've already kind of covered in the rest of the modules. So when you're talking about differentiation and you want to look at the UDL model that CAST gives us, you can see inside that all of the theories that we've already talked about. So all of the metacognition, all of the self-regulation, the schema development, motivation, all of the neurocognitive processes, and all of the social aspects. They're all being brought together into this one practical framework. So these 9 guidelines give us a structured way to identify barriers that might be blocking students from participating, and to make targeted adjustments. So not all barriers are the same for all students, so our responses shouldn't be the same either. So UDL helps us design learning so that more students can access the task, understand the information, and express what they know. So the key idea here is that barriers are in the design, not in the learner. Okay, so if we can fix the design, then hopefully everybody can participate. All right, so we're going to do a little game that I'm calling Barrier Blitz, where I want you to read the scenario and choose whether it's an issue of engagement, representation, or expression, action and expression. So just the columns, and you get more marks if you're faster. Okay, so it's on the Menti. Is that going to start? Just let me get rid of that pointer. Okay, so hopefully you've got the, okay, ready? We've got 2 players in there, 3 players. Is that everybody? So we've got a bunch of questions. I think you can still pop in later if anyone turns up later. All right, let's go. Let's go. Oh, we've got a few people who have come in late. I'm just going to put the link in the chat again. Okay, everyone has voted. Engagement. So it's actually representation, that one. Are you ready for the next one? All right. Oh, we're having issues. We're having issues today. I think it's because it's a bit windy at my house today, and I have the satellite internet. It's going to be unfortunate. All right, let's try again. Okay. All right. Okay, you ready? We have to skip question 2. Student knows the content but freezes during written tasks. Is that about engagement, representation, or expression? Alrighty, let's have a look. It's about expression. Good job. All right, let's go. Oh, goodness me. I would come into work on Tuesdays, except I also have a tute at night and I don't want to have to drive home in the dark. So I tried to do it from home. All right. Hopefully we won't have to skip too many. Students become anxious when they don't know the purpose of the task. All right, engagement. That one's an engagement one. They've gotten too anxious and now they can't engage. Task requires writing, but alternative modes allowed. This one's nice and easy, I think. An easy one to finish on. All right, that one is action and expression. Oh, I must have. Oh, there we go. Who's winning? Mousy. Mousie's winning. No, Metal is winning. Woohoo. Oh, no, Mousie's winning. Goodness, that's a bit hard to understand. All right, so we're going to come back to some more blitzing in a moment. So this one is called the Better Explanation Challenge. So for this one, I want you to choose which explanation is stronger. So you're going to have to choose on the basis of less assumptions are made, it seems more evidence sensitive, and it's more open to learner variability. Okay, so this one's a little bit trickier. This one's a little bit about opinion, I think. If a student never volunteers to speak in class, what do we think about that student? What assumption are we going to make? All right, so awesome. That is the one that allows for the most learner variability. Okay, so we're making the least assumptions about the student if we think that they might be anxious about speaking rather than they're not interested or they don't know anything. Student copies a classmate's work. Okay, so we would probably check and make sure that they understood the instructions for the task before we assumed that they just wanted the easy way out. There might be something underlying that easy way out. Student asks many clarifying questions. So it could be any one of those, but we're going to sort of go with the instructions might be ambiguous. I am a person who asks many clarifying questions all the time because I just want to make sure that I'm getting it exactly right, how you want it to be, so that I don't get in any trouble or any of that sort of thing. So clarifying questions are something that a lot of people do. All right. Student always forgets their materials. You're going to feel this one a lot, I think. Oh, I've made a typo again. Could be any of those things. Okay, yeah, we're gonna go with we'll try and remove any barriers they're having to getting organised. So we're going to try and give them some more organisational support to start with. A student does well orally but struggles to write their ideas. All right, so written expression might be a barrier. Okay, this is the last one. Student takes longer to answer questions than their peers. All right, Very good. They might just need more processing time. Okay. Who was fastest this time? Very good. Very good. All right. So this is the picture that I showed you before, but now it's been all filled in with different types of things that we can use to help us with those barriers. So these are not full lessons. These are like little micro adjustments to reduce barriers and increase access. So for engagement, we've got the access to support and the executive function down here. And things like optimizing choice and autonomy, so not every lesson can have choices. Sometimes you have to go through a certain sequence of learning journey to get from where you are to where you want to go. But sometimes you can offer meaningful choices, okay? And that can boost interest and relevance to people, to students. Things like clarifying the meaning and purpose of goals. This is something that I feel like has become more recognized over the last, I don't know, decade or so. When I was at school, it was just you're doing this because that's what we're doing. And even at university, that, you're learning this is because we learn this. And whenever I do something for my students at university, I try to give them the reason why they're doing it. And that is helpful for adults and for children. So, and then down in your emotional capacity one, you've got, you're recognizing expectations, beliefs, and you're cultivating empathy and restorative practices and things like that. And then if we go up to representation, you give multiple ways of perceiving or experiencing the information. So here, for example, multiple ways to perceive information. Maybe you show it the same information as an animation and also as a written thing. And this is not about learning styles, because learning styles have been debunked repeatedly in the literature. This is just about multimodal things. When people see things in more than one way, helps to reduce the cognitive load. So things like pairing visuals and text or demonstrating while you're explaining. And then in this one for support, this is the one where you've got things like clarifying vocabulary. Make sure the students know the vocabulary and the symbols and things and are able to decode the text or the mathematical symbols. So those are ways of helping as well. Activating background knowledge down here in executive functions. So connect prior knowledge to new learning is a helpful one for executive function. Highlight and explore patterns. So don't just expect them to see the patterns on their own. I've been guilty of this myself, where I've planned a little learning journey for the nurses in bioscience, and I think to myself, yes, they're going to follow these little steps and they're going to get this thing all on their own. And they, some of them do, but the majority of them can't make that last leap. So sometimes you've got to point things out and highlight and explore the patterns. And then for action and expression over here, you might want to try different ways of letting the children respond to something. So multiple media for communication and things like that. And then down here in our bottom one for executive function, that's where all of that self-regulated learning stuff comes in. Okay, so setting meaningful goals, anticipating and planning for challenges, organizing information and resources. That block is all about self-regulated learning strategies. All right, so for our last activity for today is still on the Menti. And I want you, so for this, there's 3 questions for each scenario. Okay, so we're going to identify the primary barrier in the first question. And then we're going to think about which one of those CAST guidelines it's addressing. And then we're going to choose an inclusive adjustment. Okay, so there's 3 questions for each one. Hopefully all 3 questions will come through in the wind. Who would have thought wind would upset the satellites? All right. Okay, we're ready. So the scenario is students struggle because the task has a long paragraph of written instructions. So which is the barrier, do you think? It doesn't matter if you don't know these. Just have a little guess because it's good for your brain to have a guess. And hopefully these little scenarios will help you a little bit when you're writing your assessment task. Just a different way of thinking about it. All right, so I think that it is about representation, okay, because there's a long thing of written information, and representation was the one where there was language and vocabulary and things like that. But, that's just my opinion, and you might have a different opinion about that. And if you can justify your opinion in your writing, then I will give you the marks. Well, not me personally, because I'm not actually marking this assessment task. I've got a little gang of markers. All right. The second part of the question was which one of those 9 areas is where the adjustment will be made. And I kind of gave you the answer. But equally, there could be 2 answers here. So it would depend on your justification, how you justify it in your assignment. But I think there's 2 that you could choose here. Yeah, and you guys all chose comprehension, and I think you could choose languages and symbols as well. All right. And then what is our adjustment that we're going to do? Typo, another typo. I'm just like typing too fast. Not all of these things have spell checker on them. All right, so I could make a step-by-step video scaffold, okay, as a different means of representation. All right, so this is, I think, the next one. Oh no, it's the leaderboard first. Fastest and with the most points this time. All right, so our second scenario is, going to press the button. Student understands the topic but can't connect it to the new concept being introduced. So where do we think the barrier might be? Again, you don't have to know this off the top of your head. It's just for fun. Have a guess, and we'll see what it says. Representation again. All right. Okay, so where on the 9 squares this time do you think this is happening? Recruiting interest, comprehension, or physical action? Just have a guess. Comprehension it is. Okay. And what will we do for an adjustment? All right, that one was fairly straightforward, I think. Okay, leaderboard. Okay, awesome. Okay, last one. And our scenario is student has ideas but freezes when they are asked to begin a multi-step task. They say things like, I don't know where to start. Oh, I feel like, oh, action expression. I thought it was going to be engagement. All right, well done. Well done. I got that one wrong. Sometimes I don't remember the answers to these questions after I've made the quizzes. Sometimes I give the answer away to the next one when I talk about the first one. All right, so where is this about? Have ideas but freeze when asked to begin a multi-step task. What did we go with? Oh, I went with executive function this time because not knowing where to start is a very self-regulated learning thing, and that's my zone. So yes, very good. But as I said to you before, you could probably argue it, and what you focus on will be different to what I focus on. Um, as long as you've got your evidence, then it's all good. Okay, last one. What adjustment would we make? Okay, yep, that's definitely what I would have picked there. One of the things you've got to remember is that the kids, the kids that will be in your class will all have, for some reason, the final leaderboard didn't come up then. The kids that'll be in your class will all be at different stages of learning. You know, some will not need those scaffolds and some will need those scaffolds. So the UDL is about differentiating so that everybody can participate. All right. I'm sorry. I don't know who won at the end. Mousy, I guess, I think. Mousy was pretty much holding the lead there the whole time. I'm going to stop the share or not. No, I thought I dropped all the way out then. You appeared. So that's really all I have for today. Does anyone have any questions about any of that UDL stuff or the assessment or anything else?
Ma'am, I have a question. Can I put like the website links into the reference? Like, can I add a website into the reference?
For that UDL, that's the only reference that you have. So
Um,
you'll have to use the website for that one.
Oh, okay.
So other websites, it depends what they are, but that UDL one,
Mhm.
that is their, they do have a book, but we don't have it at the uni, and everything's on the website. So just use the website for that. But remember that they are referring to other theories. Okay, so and those other theories are theories that we have talked about during the other modules. So for example,
Yep.
those executive function ones, they're all about self-regulated learning. So you can also draw in some of those things. So this is more of a practical application of the theories that we have been talking about, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, ma'am. Got it.
All right. If you don't have any other questions, then I guess this is the end. I won't see you again. Yeah. What a fast 6 weeks this has been. It's like just a whirlwind. I hope you had fun in the classes and I hope you learned some things that will be helpful to you when you get out into the classrooms.
Thank you, Vicky. There's lots of
Ma'am, this is
messages
the
for
last class or this is another class as well?
Yeah, I think it is, yeah. I have a couple more tutorials to give to the other part of the group, but I think this is the last one where I'll see you. So
there's lots of
good luck.
messages for you, Vicky.
And a
Yeah, good luck.
wonderful
Thank
journey we
you.
just unit.
Bye.
Thank you.
I have learned so
I've
many
really
things from
enjoyed.
you. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I've really enjoyed teaching this subject. It's a
Yeah,
good subject, and I think there's a lot of important information in there for when you get out into the classroom.
yeah.
Thanks, Vicky, and Merry Christmas.
Merry
Yeah, Merry
Christmas.
Christmas to you
Merry
too.
Christmas.
Merry
Merry Christmas.
Christmas.
Enjoy
Thank
them.
you.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank
bye.
you. Bye. Bye,
Bye.
Vicky. Thank you.